Hello and welcome back to Let's Be Nerds. We are on episode 11 and it is going to be a great episode. With me today, I have Gordon, I have Lizett, and I have Drew. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty okay.
Pretty okay.
Yeah, I'm a little tired, but other than that, I'm ready to get this session going.
Listen,
Right,
we need
that
the
didn't.
hype train.
Yeah, that didn't sound very enthusiastic, Gordon.
This is an exciting episode. Everyone's bringing something really awesome to the table. I need a little bit better energy than that.
Do I need
Give me like 5 minutes.
Do I need to DoorDash you some coffee or something? You get some caffeine in you.
I hate coffee, so no, please don't.
I imagine what would I guess DoorDash would be local. Because I was thinking, imagine like from where you're at, DoorDashing something the whole way to PA. Could you imagine? It would probably be local.
Yes, I'm gonna send somebody 5 hours up to you guys.
Listen, one day when we have the budget.
Yes.
Drew, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. I'm excited. I got a lot of things on my mind to talk about. It's been a great day playing video
And
games.
this is your second full episode. So
Yes.
that's pretty exciting.
I am pretty excited.
Well, we are glad to have you. And I am excited to jump into what we have to talk about. Again, today we are going to be doing one of our multi-topic episodes, which is going to be a recurring theme throughout this podcast. And I'm excited because I think we really all brought our A game with this one. So before we spend too much time, I say we just hop right in and get going. Gordon, you went to the movies last night. Tell us all about it.
1 second, Steve. Lizett, how are you doing? He rudely just forgot to ask.
Did I really ignore Lizett?
Yes, you did.
Oh, God. Okay, well, we have to take this out after we do it. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm good. It's all good, guys. Don't worry about it.
This is how our family treats each other.
Exactly. So it didn't even register. I'm like, yeah, I'm here. It's all good.
I know I'm here.
Well, Liza, as always, it's great to hear your voice, and it's great to have you here, and I apologize for skipping over you.
Ugh.
All right, Gordon, tell us about this movie.
So, yeah, I did go to the movies last night. It was a late showing. It's I think it's pronounced Shang-Lin or something like that. It's the new Marvel movie that just came out. Shun-Lin and the Ten Rings, something along those lines. It's the first movie, I think, to come out from Marvel in the fourth stage. And
Okay, listen, it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. You saw this in cinema, you paid for a ticket with it stamped on it, and you watched the entire movie. You've got to get it right.
he called himself Sean the entire movie, okay? I'm sorry.
Okay, go on.
I don't know the names, but it was a really good movie. A good way to kick off the stage 4, and they made it a longer movie to introduce more storytelling, to give you more of a background, in my opinion, instead of just throwing us in, introducing the characters, and getting straight to the point. It goes through a little bit of the upbringing of the characters through their childhood, and the how to say this spoiler free, and the emotions that led the children, the main characters, to where they were, where the movie officially takes place in the present, after the snap and everyone comes back from Endgame and Infinity Wars and all that fun stuff. It's hard. It's hard for me to talk about movies without spoiling anything because I know none of you have seen it. I don't want to spoil it for any of you. I don't want to spoil it for any of our audience.
I appreciate that, but right now it sounds like you went to the movie and fell asleep.
Yeah, I
You're not
know.
really giving us much.
Well,
You see,
what I
you
really
kick
want.
kick this off, and now in the entire episode, I'm going to be coming for you. So just just to let you know.
Well, what I really want to talk about is the end credit scene for this. As everyone knows, every Marvel movie, the good guys win every time. That's just how it goes.
A little annoying, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Except for that one time in Infinity War where they kind of lost, and then
The best part
Mr. Stark,
Yeah.
I don't feel so good.
Oh
Breaks my heart
God.
every time.
is the
Ugh.
best thing they ever did.
Anything
Well,
that ever, if Tom Holland, I will protect him. He deserves rights.
He's my favorite Spider-Man, to be honest.
Same here. And I was a big Tobey Maguire fan.
Yes,
So was I.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
too.
But I like this end credit scene because it introduced I'm gonna say this name wrong, Steve, and you're gonna yell at me for it. I think it's Wong.
From Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah. I think it's Wong.
Why do we say the exact same
In
thing with the
unison
exact
now.
same with the exact same tone?
Is that playing?
Because we
No.
operate on the same wavelength, Stephen.
I should know this by now.
Wong shows up in the movie like halfway through for a fight scene, then disappears into his magical teleporter ring thing that I don't know, the sling ring teleporter thing. And then in the end credit scene, all the awesomeness dies down. He contacts the main character and his girlfriend to go with them to the sanctuary to investigate the 10 rings. And Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel's there. Marvel, a disgrace against the Marvel community.
We don't speak
is
about Brie
there.
Larson. This is an anti-Brie Larson podcast.
But so those three are there all looking at the 10 rings, and it's in none of their data banks, and no one knows what they are, where they came from, or even how old they are. They're like as old as the Infinity Stones almost. I think it's what they were hinting at with how old these rings were.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's nothing like about the movie. They say that the rings activated a homing beacon or a beacon of sorts calling out to someone, and that could potentially lead to, in my mind, that's leading to the next movie coming out, Eternals, and them bringing back all the Celestials into the cinematic universe. I think it might be hinting towards that movie coming out and trying to give us hints towards future movies in stage 4 of the cinematic universe. If that makes sense.
I think I followed.
Did you know that the actor who plays Wong, his last name is actually Wong?
Oh yeah, it's BD Wong.
Isn't that pretty cool? Sorry, Gordon. No, I understand that you're trying to be spoiler free, but I get what you're saying. Like, it's exciting.
They definitely played it with the end credit scene a lot towards hinting towards the next step in the movies, I think, or hinting towards the next main villain for this stage, and trying to, kind of like they did with showing Thanos like 7 movies before he even showed up or like officially had a full role in the movie. I think they're trying to hint towards the next person and try to give the people who maybe read the comics and have this information an idea of, this is who they're bringing in. I'm super excited to see this. I want to see how they execute it. Because as of right now, what I'm thinking is going to happen, we went over it in the Marvel episode. All these movies are coming out, and then there's the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie coming out. I am fully believe that that movie might be another 3-hour long movie with the Loki TV show, WandaVision, Winter Soldier TV show, and every movie towards the end of the third stage has been hinting towards this Doctor Strange movie coming out. And I am super excited to see exactly what's going to happen and how long it's going to be, because they could say it's a 5-hour long movie. I'm going to show up there with a fucking garbage bag of popcorn ready to watch this movie.
I will break if it's gonna be long. I will bust out the adult diapers. I'm not afraid.
I'm already preparing to call off work for the day that's released, and I'm going to go watch it.
Yeah, the restaurant's gonna be screwed. Like when half the staff calls off to go see that movie,
We're gonna have to close for the day, make it a holiday.
they're gonna be like, it's a national Marvel holiday. Don't blame us, blame the mouse.
Exactly.
I wish I could get excited for this. I wish I could. I can't.
No, I'm surprised that you're not excited for the Doctor Strange movie, at least because that is one of your favorite characters.
I know. It's just because it just feels like more of the same, you know? Like, sure, it might be a new villain, but I have a feeling that everything's going to kind of happen in a similar way. And I feel like they're not really doing anything new. And I've just kind of lost that desire to watch or to anticipate what is going to happen next. I've just lost all of it.
I can say with, I think, a little bit of certainty that from watching the old movies and then watching this new one, how they defeat the villain, and like, it's definitely different. Like, this movie, I think, might spark a little bit more of a reaction in you, Drew, than previous movies. I think you might like this one a bit more because it doesn't center around people with like superpowers. Like, no one really has superpowers. I'll say this, and when you guys go to see it, you'll know what I mean. It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender had a proper remake for the live action movie.
Wow.
Now I have questions, but okay, I'm intrigued.
Like, keep that in the back of your mind, and when they hit the scene, it's like maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's the Avatar: Last Airbender had a proper live-action remake.
All right, well,
Well, let's do this. Not just for the co-hosts, but for the people listening. Give it a scale of 1 to 10, and should they see it in theaters? Like, is it worth, not worth going? Wait till you can buy it. Like, give us.
I would put this movie around a 7 for the sole fact that if you're big into Marvel, it's 100% worth going to see it in theaters. Even if you haven't seen every single movie up to this point, it's definitely worth going and seeing because they put more time into the storytelling aspect, not just the action and getting to the point. Like, they sincerely try to introduce the characters in a way that we would fully understand them in the time that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I will most likely be buying a second ticket to go watch it again in theaters by myself to try to fully grasp everything I saw in that movie.
Wow.
Okay.
If that's any idea of my opinion on the movie, I would pay to go watch it in theaters again.
Okay.
It's got me excited because my sister and I are planning on going to see it sometime in the next week or so. We're not sure exactly when. So I'll have to get up with you once I actually know what you're talking about more specifically, and we can have a spoiler discussion instead.
You're definitely going to have to keep in mind Avatar: The Last Airbender. You'll know what I mean.
Okay. I'll pass that along to her too so that she can see it at the same time I do.
Even if you don't tell her, just the first scene where that idea popped to my, like, the first fight scene, I shouldn't say first fight scene, like the first love interest fight scene. It's a weird thing. Like, my first thought was, oh wow, they made Avatar into a live action movie. Great. I definitely like the movie.
If you're content with your review and analysis, are we good to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, you sound so defeated. I'm sorry. I'm like letting the wind out
I
of your
just need.
sails.
See, I don't really care for the. Sorry, viewers. If we all would have seen the movie, it would be a 100% spoiler full conversation right now. But they haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, and we don't want to spoil it for the viewers either. You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah. It's been out for 3 days now. They have time.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. So, the next topic that I want to bring up, and let's just take a look here. Um, I'm going to keep it brief. This part of this podcast is we do want to delve into true crime in the future because true crime is kind of the focus of my YouTube channel and what have you. And this has a pop culture element, which I don't necessarily think our audience would be a follower of this, but I'm guilty as charged. I'm a pop culture like aficionado. I'm like obsessed with, you know, certain things and watching certain things. And it's when true crime meets pop culture and it happens in front of my eyes, it leads me to watch things that I would not normally watch because if it's a potential case that I would want to cover on my channel, I want to be up and aware of it. Well, something came across my radar and it led me down a rabbit hole that I was not expecting to go down. So, has anybody ever seen the movie Aaron Brockovich?
I have not.
No.
So, this film was released, I want to say, in late 1999 or early 2000s, and it was starring Julia Roberts, and it was a very successful film. And essentially, what it was is Julia Roberts portrays a character that is essentially in the middle of like a lawsuit, so to speak. She was going against the Pacific Gas and Electric Company regarding its liability for this groundwater contamination incident. And it's a huge profile case from the time. And it was a huge film, and I believe it won awards. I believe it put Julia Roberts, like, helped further her on the map of stardom. There was a character, like, the real life people, names were changed, obviously, but there was a character in the film by the name of Eric Porter, and he was a lawyer, and he was on the side of getting restitution and settlements for people affected by this. Well, the real life Eric Porter is a man by the name of Tom Girardi. Tom Girardi is an LA based attorney that has, prior to recent findings, was in good standing. He advocated for people that were victims of plane crashes, burn victims, people that essentially didn't have a lot of resources. He was the type of attorney that would take on their case with minimal charge to them, in the sense of they would only have to pay him if they won the case, because these people were not, you know, of financial solitude where they could afford these types of cases, procedures. You have to have money to afford this attorney. So he became like known as the guy to go to if you didn't have enough resources and you knew you were wronged and you were the victim of a circumstance. And he was well regarded in the legal community in LA. I believe a college actually gave him a position where he was actually educating up and coming law students. He had received multiple awards from within the community. Well, he also was not so great in his private life, and he has been through a few marriages. I don't recall how many, but he, in 1999, when the film Aaron Brockovich premiered, that really kind of put him in the mainstream, like outside of LA, he married a woman named Erika. Erika would later go on in the year 2015. She would premiere on the Bravo TV show, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And she was essentially her portrayal was that she was this pop star that wanted to make it big and had this music career, and she was all her life she was this, stay-at-home housewife, and now she was finally finding herself and living this like sexy pop star wannabe life. Well, it's now come to the court of public opinion and actual court that money from settlements that were meant for burn victims, widows and children of people that died in plane crashes, never received their settlement money. And her entertainment company that she started when she became, part of the pop culture discourse as this wannabe pop star, was receiving large sums of money from the Girardi law firm. Well, people have now started coming forward, and victims, people that are waiting for this money, are finally putting their hands up and saying, we've gone broke because we have medical bills. We no longer have the sole provider of our the household income died in the, some of them, there was a Lion air crash, there was a Boeing 737 air crash. People were expecting this money. And there are situations where it would be reported along the same line as when Erika had joined the reality show, that Tom would tell them, oh, well, let me reinvest your settlement money. I'll take it, put it in the stock market, and make you even more money in what would be called like an estate. And he never paid them. And now the money's gone. Tom Girardi is 100% going down for this because there's a smoking gun saying he knew he misappropriated funds. His wife divorced him prior to this all coming out. Like, I would say within a month before everything really, the LA Times did a giant write-up of basically all of the victims that had come forward. They pulled them all together and they told everyone's story. So conveniently, right as cameras go up for this reality show, she divorces him. As the show is currently airing right now, everything that happened 6 months ago with like everything coming out about how he misappropriated these funds is playing out on TV. And she's very much, because of course my true crime nose had to like be buried into this. It's funny watching her interact because she's never speaking of victims. She's never speaking of, the fact that the man she loved did this. It's very much like she's the victim. So there's this whole thing where they think that she knew about it, and it's like she's going to probably be, have to repay the assets because they claim the money's all spent, potentially on her entertainment, quote unquote, company. And there's a huge theory that she knew all along that that was what was funding her lifestyle, and she's culpable. So, with all that being said, everything is alleged. My question aside from raising awareness about this case and the victims, my point is, reality TV is already, we all know it's trash. Are we giving platforms to people that are criminals, and are we allowing them to use this platform to get away with murder? And that's, I guess, my question. Because the fame and the money is ridiculous, and there's all these innocent people that truly have nothing left. I don't know. That makes sense what I'm getting at. I just think that's a discussion.
I get what you're getting at. I have to agree that people, especially in the entertainment business or any kind of like celebrity light that you get put under, I feel like a lot of people that are under that light are not good people. I feel like it's very easy when you have deep pockets, doesn't matter where the money comes from, it's very easy to hide what you do or have done.
I agree. I just think,
well.
And I think that what we're doing is we're giving platforms to people. Like, you look at like the YouTubers that have been taken down over the course of the last year for all their like ridiculous behavior.
Yeah, and it takes a lot for them to get taken off. It's like, okay, this is like your 30th account of doing something that's like horrendous. Now we're going to take your platform away. And then there's still people defending like, oh, but they said sorry. It's like, I don't know.
They cried on camera on their kitchen floor. Like, no, that doesn't cut it anymore. And I think we as a society have to take a look at this and be like, well, I just looked up the numbers for their latest episode, 1.22 million viewers. That's insane. Why are we giving money, attention, and a platform to people that are capable of robbing widows and children?
I think we start to idolize them, especially if
That's
it's
what I
like
was
an
gonna say.
actor. Like we idolize the roles that they have been in, and we kind of see them as the roles they've played, less so as the person that they actually are.
I was gonna say something along the lines of when you give a platform like this to those kind of people, and they start making it big, so to speak, it's a lot harder to go after them because the public eye of them it's in such a good light that the second that anyone tries to say, "Oh, they did this," they get a lot of backlash from all the fans of
Yeah,
whatever they might be doing. For example, a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Drew said, I think the way that media is set up right now and the way that people view a lot of these stars, I don't think people realize that what they're idolizing, like you said, is the roles that they played, not the actual person themselves. And I think a lot of people either don't know how or don't understand how to disconnect the roles that someone plays from the person that they actually are.
Yes. It's a good point. And I think I guess my whole point of bringing it up, I mean, yes, we have this platform that we have is very small, but I think this needs to be shouted from the hilltops that it
Oh
has to
yeah,
come
for
down
sure.
to us to re-examine what our values and our morals are, and whether or not we choose to tune in, we choose to, follow them on Instagram or whatever. I think it comes from because we're technically consumers. They're a character on TV. They're promoting products. They're this. They're that. And I think when we look at something this horrendous of burn victims, widows, children, we have to self-reflect and realize that we have to disassociate the character from the person and realize this person is garbage and this could have been my brother, my sister, my family member that
Yeah.
was affected by this. But yeah,
Another problem that I think people have, though, when it comes to knowing that they probably shouldn't be watching and supporting these people, is you get sucked into, to some degree, like, oh, I want to see what trashy, crazy thing they're going to do next. Like, what else are they going to get away with? And people aren't really thinking, like, by continuing to give them attention, I'm creating an even bigger problem. Like, I'm part of the problem.
At Amber Heard.
and literally drop
Yeah,
her
that's
name.
what I've been thinking of the whole time.
Yeah, that's another one.
And
And
Ellen DeGeneres,
Oh,
that's another one.
the
And then don't
most
forget about all the people that Jeffrey Epstein had in his book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is a very common
that
theme
book
among
doesn't
celebrities,
exist.
is doing horrendous things, and a lot of people just are fine with sweeping it under the rug and being like, it probably didn't happen. We're just gonna assume that it didn't. People
Yeah.
always assume that celebrities are good when in actuality, most of the time they're bad.
Mm-hmm. I used to make fun of my parents because, like, at one point in our lives, they stopped going to movies. And I was like, what do you mean? And I thought it was just maybe political ideology. And I'm like, well, you have to think, obviously, they are going to clash with your beliefs. And I remember this very distinctly. My mom said, no, it's not about who they vote for. It's about the content of character. And she had legitimately a list of celebrities and people, whether they were a writer, a producer, an actor. She would follow the money and see, like, the things that they supported or the things that they had done that were reprehensible that they got away with. And she'd be like, no, they'll never get a ticket price out of me. They'll never get me renting them on demand. They won't even get my viewership. And back in the day, I used to think, I'm like, Mom, well, at this point, you're going to never watch another TV show again. Because I'm thinking it's crazy. But now, as an adult, reading these cases, reading stuff that's happening in real time, like you said, like the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, I get it now. And I wish that I would have understood it then, because you vote with your dollar, and I choose to not support people like this. Anyway, we went from happy to sad real quick, but victims, we support you, and you're heard and you're seen. And we're going to move on. We're going to take a quick ad break, and we're going to get into a little bit of happier things, but some controversy. So it'll be good. So stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey there, guys and gals. I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Speak Easily podcast. I know I had a lot of fun recording it. Speaking of, have you ever thought about making your own podcast? It's always been something I wanted to do, but I kept putting it off because I could never find the right platform to host it. That is, until I discovered Anchor. Anchor is an all-in-one recording, editing, and hosting app that makes the process simple. And the best part is it's totally free. And I mean genuinely free. And if you're someone like me who has a love-hate relationship with editing audio, let me tell you this, I was blown away by how user-friendly the in-app editing tool actually is. My favorite part, I must admit, is the distribution. Normally with new podcasts, you have to submit your show to various platforms individually, which can be time-consuming and very frustrating. But with Anchor, they do the legwork for you. They'll submit it to Spotify, Apple, Castbox, Google, and several others with just the click of a button. Plus, unlike other platforms, there is no minimum requirement for listeners, so you can monetize your podcast and start earning right away. So, download the free Anchor app available in the App Store or on the Google Play Store, or do what I did and head over to anchor.fm to get started today. Thank you, Anchor, for sponsoring this podcast. I guess this means the next round's on you. I'll drink to that. Okay, and we're back. So, Lizett, I think you're next. Tell me what you brought to the table today.
All right, so this is actually a topic that Drew brought to my attention a couple days ago. I was going to let him talk about it, but I was running short on ideas for today, so I stole it. So as you guys know, I think I've mentioned this a couple times before, we actually managed to get our hands on a PS5 a little while ago. Oh, hang on one second, guys.
Sure.
Lucky you.
Okay. Sorry, I was just trying to make sure we weren't going to have a lot of background noise. So it looks like Sony is about to release or has started to release their next wave of PS5s. And hang on one second. My iPad has decided to go haywire on me.
It's all good. Do we want to take it from the top when you get back?
Yeah, that's fine.
How's my background audio, if anybody can hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear anything in your background.
Yeah, I've heard something in somebody's background, like at the very beginning, but it was real faint. So since then, it's been nothing.
Excellent. Yeah, I haven't heard anything on anyone else's end.
Okay, so mine
Alright.
sounds good too then?
Yeah,
Yep.
You're fine. Besides the whole you speaking thing.
All right, we're good, Stephen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gordo. You started with me, man.
You
All right.
forgot to introduce your guest host. That's not my fault.
She's not my guest host. She's my full-time co-host. So,
Oh, same difference.
all right. So we'll take it from the top in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're back. So, Lizett, I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Tell us what you brought to the table.
All right, so this is an issue that Drew brought to my attention a couple days ago. I was saving it for him to talk about, but I was out of ideas for today, so I stole it. So as I've mentioned to you guys a couple times before, we managed to get our hands on a PS5 about 2 months ago, I'd say.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months ago.
With that being said, it looks like Sony is about to roll out their next wave of PS5s, or they may have started already because a couple people have managed to get their hands on them. Now, something that Sony was saying about this new wave is that it would be about 300 grams lighter weight-wise. So people have been trying to figure out, where did they cut that weight? Like, what's going on? So there was a YouTuber whose name is Austin Evans, who actually took the new console apart and took the older console apart to compare and figure out what did they change. So he found that the new Wave has a smaller heat sink with a reduced amount of heat conducting copper. And that's where they cut, like, almost all that weight came from the smaller heat sink, less copper. So he measured the difference in temperature from the heat exhaust coming out of the original PS5 versus the newer one. Now, this was the digital edition, not the disc edition. The newer model he found ran about 5 degrees Celsius hotter than the old one. So his thinking is that this heat discrepancy is going to make the new console worse than the old one in the long run. And when Drew and I were talking about this, the way he was explaining it to me, I don't know, like, if you guys pay attention to your consoles when you're running them, when they start, like, if you're playing all day, I know my PlayStation 4 will get pretty warm at times. So, like, if it starts to feel like it's getting too hot for my comfort, I'll turn it off, give it a break. I'll do the same thing with my Xbox. Something that we've noticed with our PS5, we've run it all day, several days in a row, because he and I will take turns playing or whatever, and we're running some pretty demanding games on
like
it.
Demon Souls, and
You ran Assassin's Creed for a little while, and
like
a couple other
very,
things.
very big games.
It's barely gotten warm at all. Like, to the touch, it feels almost the same as when it's off.
On a summer day with no AC in a basement.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
Drew aimed one of our floor fans at it just because he was worried, but, like, it was not giving off heat at all. So this new change that they're making to try and cut back on production costs so that they can actually make money, because Sony is claiming that they've been producing the original runs of the PS5 at a loss to themselves.
Yeah, apparently they've made no money off of the PS5 sales thus far, and that's why they're doing this newer model.
Yeah. Now, in my opinion, what they could have done, but this is just me, would have been to talk with all of the vendors in the stores who were selling it, that all the scalpers were getting it from, and start putting in place things that would help to prevent scalpers so that your average person could get a hold of it, and then just raise your price just a tad, and then they would have been making money, and then people actually would be able to get it when they want it. But that's just me. What do I know?
There are a lot of, in my opinion, outside of the console not running as well, I think there are bigger problems with this.
Yeah, which I'll let you get into in just a second. But basically, it having potentially less powerful cooling abilities is going to cut back the lifespan of these consoles for people who play them frequently. So it's already a decently expensive console. If you break down like we did, I'll admit it, we did get it from a scalper, but it was someone who was local. We did not have it shipped to us. Like, we drove to the guy's house. He opened the box. He showed us it was not full of rocks. Like, the PS5 was actually in there.
And he didn't mark it up an insane amount. I think for everything we bought, I think we paid an extra like $200 for it.
Yeah, so it wasn't crazy. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. We were trying really hard to hold off, but
with this whole new scandal, we're a lot more okay with what we did.
Yes.
And actually glad we did it, because now these consoles, the older ones, some scalpers are now trying to sell those for like $2,000.
Oh my god.
Because it's considered rare now, because now they're not making them anymore, and there's already a limited quantity of them. So now they're being marked up an insane amount more.
Additionally, there's no way to tell the two versions apart, aside from that 500 grams difference in weight, which is not very much at all.
300.
300, sorry, my bad. 300 grams in weight, and
on the box, it's the model number. So there's 3 model numbers thus far. You got the very original, you got the one we have, which is just like the original, but just when they made more of them, the second wave basically. And now you have this 3rd model number that's coming out. This 3rd model number is what they're taking away the heatsink. So the weight difference, and then on the box the number,
Yeah.
Okay.
the model number. That's the only way to tell.
Now, this article that I pulled some of this information from, and Steven, I can drop you a link to it in the Discord in a minute.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. They're trying to say that, you know, this might not necessarily be a bad thing because they're saying that, hold on, let me find where it is. The fact that the newer, excuse me, the fact that the newer version is pushing out more hot air, they're saying that that could mean that it's doing a better job of moving the heat from inside the console to the outside of the console. But that just sounds kind of like they're making excuses, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I
Mhm.
don't think that necessarily works that way. But
Because it's like our PlayStation doesn't have to push out as much hot air because it's not really producing as much heat.
Huh.
so
I have questions already, but go
Yeah.
on. I'm sorry, but go on.
well, I mean, that's the basics of it. There's
I have a few theories on the real reason why they're doing this.
you can go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So I don't know if you guys did the same thing that like my family did. When a new console would come out, you wouldn't buy it right away. You'd usually wait a year or two and kind of wait for them to work out all the kinks and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
then buy the console. I think
Absolutely.
what PlayStation is trying to do now is I think with this whole scandal, I think they're trying to erase that mentality. I think now what they're trying to do is make it where like, well, you know, you guys should have pre-ordered the PS5. If you did, you would have gotten the nicest PS5 that we ever made. But now you're stuck with these lesser ones because you decided to wait. Maybe next generation you'll do the smart thing and pre-order it and get a nicer one, and then you know you'll be set. I think that's the real reason why they're doing it. I think they're trying to erase that mentality of wait a year or two before you pick up the next console.
And if they manage to get rid of that mentality, that's going to boost their day one sales by a
lot.
significant amount.
Yeah. Instead of all, because I know I normally wait at least a couple months, not a year, but I usually wait over a few months just to see their overall reviews of the console before I get it, because
Yeah, because I mean, I can. Sorry to cut you off, Gordon. I know Drew and I and one of our cousins all have day one editions of the Nintendo Switch, and I mean, I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't really looked at yours to see if yours has had any of the issues that a lot of them were reported, but I mean, like my Joy-Cons have the drift in them, which just about everybody's Joy-Cons have. So I just bought aftermarket ones. Other than that, I haven't had any of the day one issues with mine. So, and I don't know of anybody personally who has, but I know a lot of people were reporting day one issues, and that's why a lot of people were not buying the Switch right away.
I do want to bring up a thing though. I know like with a lot of new release consoles, I know a lot of people like to do I'm gonna call it hits. People like to do hits on them. So basically, like when the PS4 first came out, what people were doing was they're taking the PS4, running it to its limit, having like multiple things download while playing a game, and putting it in kind of like a isolated area with not a lot of airflow, and they were pushing the PS4 to its limit, and then it would like brick up on them and stop working. They're like, after this much time, the PS4 stopped working on me. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Not all of them are like that, but I do know that a lot of people who are hardcore into that console war and want people to believe one console is better than the other will put hits out on the console that is not their preferred console.
I gotcha. It's like a good YouTube, like clickbait, you know, like not clickbait, but like, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't really, if you're just looking at reviews, especially if let's say you're a parent looking to get a console for your kid for Christmas or whatever, and you're just kind of skimming reviews, you might not be as familiar with it if you're not into gaming. So the people who are putting out these hits, as Drew called them, might be able to influence what console they get their kid, and it's not always accurate information.
Can I like ask a couple questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just was like Googling. I was listening, but I was Googling as well. So first thing that jumped out to me is a red flag. So Sony put out that the initial launch of the PS5, they were running it at a loss or at break even. Is that correct?
they just now came out and said that apparently this is the reason why they're switching to this newer model, is because they were not making any profit on the older model.
Okay, so I just fact checked myself, and I could be wrong. Maybe I misinterpreted it, but Sony is a publicly traded company. So, did they release any like documents or any data showing proof of running at a loss?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. When I was looking at this, I just did a real quick search for articles that talked about what this YouTuber found of what they changed. So as of right now, the only information I have about Sony's reasoning behind it is just, hey, they're saying that they're running at a loss, but I don't know of anybody who has dug in and actually tried to prove that yet.
Yeah.
Well, and my thing, I will never claim to be like any form of financial, professional in any way. Look at my bank account, you can tell I spend way too much at the bars. But like, here's my thing: if they're a publicly traded company, and let's call a spade here. This is the PlayStation 5. They have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
This isn't the PlayStation 2. This is the 5th generation console. So you expect me to believe, not you guys, but I mean them, Sony, expect me to believe that you are running this at a loss. You're a publicly traded company with public shareholders where all documentation has to be made available. To my knowledge, my understanding of it, if you're invested in this company as a private citizen on a public shareholder basis, you need to have these documents like made available to you.
Oh, I think it's
So,
a lie.
I do too. That's what I'm getting at. I think it's like planned obsolescence.
Mhm.
They're essentially, like you said, they're trying to get their first day sales. They're trying to get like the console. I'm sure Console Wars plays into that. Like, oh, if they can say that they sold this many on their first day of launch or whatever, I don't buy it. Like this, if it stinks, and this stinks. Like if they were truly running this at a loss, it would have to be public knowledge in the form of documentation.
It'd have to be a
Because
calculated loss.
yes, like they would need to have numbers for the shareholders.
And
from what I understand, Sony is a publicly traded company on the exchange.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Steven.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm just like I'm
No,
revved up.
you're good. Oh, no, that kind of plays back into my point though of when we were still trying to get our hands on one, and we were talking. I wasn't Sony saying they didn't really not that they ever officially said we don't care that people are scalping this, but weren't there like people who were trying to contact Sony and ask, hey, can we, like, are you guys going to do anything about scalpers?
Yeah, a lot of people have been complaining to not just Sony, but Microsoft as well, because the Xbox Series X is also running into the same problem. But people are complaining to them, being like, hey, like, scalpers are running wild and taking on the PlayStation 5s. Like, we can't do anything. And for the most part, I believe Sony's been kind of quiet on that. Like, they've tried a few, I don't even know if I would consider them tactics on how to deal with it, but nothing they have done has worked. And I don't completely blame Sony for this, because this is the first time that scalping has been in the gaming scene to this extent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, there's been no other console release that has been this bad. I think the closest was Nintendo Switch, but I didn't really have a problem getting it.
No.
I know a lot of people were kind of buying them up and reselling them, but I feel like that was more of like an afterthought, like a little bit after the console had been released, people started doing that.
Yeah, and part of the problem that everybody's run into is that these two, including the Xbox Series X, they were released during the pandemic when
people had nothing else to do but sit at home.
Well, that, but also they didn't really send that many to stores because they were trying to keep people at home. So it was all done online. Like, there were very, very few cases that I have been able to find of stores actually getting them in to be able to sell. And that's what has also made it so easy for scalpers to get a hold of them, because they don't have to run from store to store to store to get them. Mm-hmm. You sit at home, you set up your bots, you do whatever the heck it is you do. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And you manage to just have them shipped to your house. Like I said, the guy that we bought ours from sells them He sells a few. He only ever has a couple at a time.
Yeah, he's not buying up a couple hundred of them and then selling them for $3,000 a piece.
He doesn't have his basement full of them, as far as I'm aware. But he works at home, so he has the time to probably be able to set up and do what we had wanted to do, to be able to get our own, which is sitting on your computer, keeping some of the Twitter pages up of people who say, oh my God, guys, it's going live on GameStop in 2 minutes. Get on right now. You can get one without going through a scalper, but you have to basically either be working from home or not have a job in order to successfully do that right now.
Because whatever website has them, they'll sell out in like a minute or two, if that.
Because all the auto buying bots.
Yep.
Yes.
But again, this goes back, and maybe I'm beating a dead horse here, but this goes back to my first point. This is their 5th year in the game. So, like, they would have, you either use the pandemic as an excuse or you use it as a reason to do more. Like, they should have, in my head, they would have realized, like, okay, this is our audience. This is how many people will subscribe to what we put out. We understand that people are sheltering in place, so we're going to produce more, and we're going to make it more available, and we're not going to have, it's essentially like a run on the bank. It's like, I need my money and I need it now. Everybody's flocking at one time. So, like, wouldn't they have planned for that potential? Like, I'm kind of faulting Sony here because, like,
So am I.
Because, like, they should have, oh, well, it's a pandemic and it's this, and we didn't have enough supply and there's no in-store purchases, but they should have had the concept of the general idea of, like, okay, well, it's going to be all online. Why don't we produce more? Because we know our fan base, we know our audience, we're going to sell them.
That actually
it's almost
me in.
like they made it happen.
I get what you're saying.
That actually leads me into my second theory of why they're doing the console, or they're changing the way the console's built. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but when, like, a company makes a console, that hardware sale isn't actually where all their money comes from. The money comes from people buying games and, buying their subscriptions and stuff like that. That's where all their money comes from. The hardware is just a means to an end. It's just for them to get their money. I think what they're trying to do is, because most of these consoles are going to scalpers, I think they're doing this change so that way they can flood the market with a lot more consoles a lot faster, to give people more of an opportunity to get their hands on one, to then buy games and stuff like that for them to make money. That's my other theory. It's either they want people to start pre-ordering day one consoles, or they're actually trying to start making their money and flood the market with consoles so that way people actually start buying the software, because that's where all their money comes from.
It could also be a combination of the two, honestly.
True, that is also possible. It's hard to tell because they're not really being too open about what's been going on with their consoles as of lately. Actually, at all, really.
Yeah.
Well, no
I
matter
don't think
what
anyone has.
No matter what the theory, though, is, like, the end game here is they're trying to benefit their bottom line.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Sony is
so
also not
shady.
known for being consumer friendly. Like, they are very much always thinking about themselves before the customer. Sony's been like that since the PlayStation 3.
Okay. I'm glad I got out in the PlayStation. No, actually, I did have a PlayStation 3. Never mind. But that's crazy. Like, that's a huge, like, it's a slap in the face to the consumer. Like, I'm flabbergasted. I had no idea it was such a scandal.
There's also two more things that nobody is really talking about with this kind of scandal thing going on, because nobody really thinks about the huge future. What's going to be a huge problem is now that scalpers are taking the old PlayStations and marking them even more, since the only difference is the serial number on the box. What's stopping them from getting their hands on a new model and putting it in an old model box and selling it for an old model price?
Oh my God.
What's stopping them from doing that?
Or
never even
making their own boxes.
True.
Never even occurred to
making
me.
their own label. Or
Now
something.
people are going to think, oh, I'm getting the good one. If people come to the conclusion that they're willing to pay $2,000 for an old model and they go to do that, it's probably going to be a very common occurrence for them to get ripped off.
Oh,
And another
Damn.
thing nobody really thinks about is that now that these old models are considered rare, when these are the age of like the GameCube or the N64 or something like that, when people
Mhm.
start collecting the PlayStation 5 as a collector's item, these older models are going to be worth a lot more, since right now there's already not a lot in circulation, and they're probably not going to make any more, and not a lot of these are going to survive.
I gotcha. Oh my god.
So there's a lot more to it than just the consumer aspect.
Conspiracy episode 3, here we are.
Yeah,
Like-
seriously.
That's crazy. I mean, like, well, okay, Drew, why do you think no one's talking about it? Do you think that they're like, do you think that like Sony's putting the kibosh on people talking about it, or do you think people are just not connecting the dots?
I actually think it's more of a Sony fanboy thing. I think that Sony is the biggest console right now. A lot of people love Sony, like the PlayStation consoles. Right now, they're the biggest. A lot of people love them. I think that a lot of people want this to be kind of swept under the rug and not make a big controversy out of it, so that way people continue buying their consoles.
This is also, correct me if I'm wrong, has really only come to light in the past week.
Yeah, this is also a very new thing. I just found out about it like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It wasn't even 2 weeks. It was like this past week. It was this past week that you came to me with it. So like it is, I mean, I don't think it's going to blow up much more. I do think that it is going to be really tamped down, and like, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. Like this article I found where they did address all the things that YouTuber found, but at the end they're like, you know, that could just mean it's better at pulling the heat out. It's like that's not how that works, but okay.
It is definitely a
Wow.
bigger problem than people are going to make it out to be, but I also blame the Sony kind of fan club. I really believe that they are going to try to push under the rug and try to be like, you know, it's still going to be kind of the same. You should still buy one. Because I know that Sony knows they don't have to justify what they're doing, because their fans are going to justify it for them.
Okay. Yeah. Holy crap. Gordon, did you know any of this?
I did not know any of this because I'm an Xbox fan, not a.
God. Well, if it happened at
PlayStation
Sony,
fan.
it's going to happen at Microsoft. Is going to probably like take a page from their book in a year, so get ready.
And now that Microsoft has bought out, what is it, Bethesda? So the new Elder Scrolls is probably not going to make it on PlayStation. That's going to give the PlayStation fanboys much more of a reason not to make a deal out of this. Because I know a lot of PlayStation people are very upset that it's possible that since Microsoft now owns Bethesda, the new Elder Scrolls that a lot of people have been waiting for a lot is not going to make it to PlayStation. And that bothers a lot of PlayStation people.
I can see it not showing up on PlayStation.
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be PC, Xbox only.
Yeah, most likely, if they even make a fucking another one. They just released this. They just released the same fucking game for what, the 10th time in a row now?
Oh yeah, that game came out in like 2013, I think.
Like they just released the fish. Like they added one new feature. You can fish.
$60
And
price tag.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm waiting for the remaster to come out in like 2 or 3 years.
That's too much time. They'll be coming out next year.
Completely.
They'll start doing teaser trailers for a new Elder Scrolls, and it's just gonna be the same one in the long run.
Okay, well, we have to like send when we like tweet this video out. We have to use like we've had Gamergate. I think we need to like call this ConsoleGate, like because this is like a scandal and a half. And like,
oh, it is. This is the kind of stuff that I follow a lot.
And like he said, a lot of people are just focusing on, well, it's going to run hotter, but that's not really a big deal, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to just like make that go away. They're not thinking about the additional ramifications that he just went through.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks far ahead in terms of that kind of stuff when it comes to consoles.
I still want a new Xbox. I just don't want to pay fucking $1,000 for it.
Well, hopefully Xbox doesn't do what PlayStation is doing.
Yeah, and from what I understand, the Xboxes tend to be a little bit easier to get your hands on.
The Xbox consoles are also technically better in terms of hardware and performance. The only reason why people go with PlayStation is for the exclusive games.
Yeah. which is why I think that they're gonna, which I might lean towards agreeing with you in Elder Scrolls coming out on Xbox only, because that's going to be a very big game to
Yes.
draw a lot of fans back to Xbox and PC in general.
I say if you're not looking at a PlayStation for Demon Souls or the Spider-Man games
God of War.
or God of War, then I highly recommend going with the Xbox, because I think the Xbox has better hardware, better software, and it's more consumer friendly. I honestly, because they have like 3 different tiers with 3 different price points and they're very
It's only
honest about
2
what each one
tiers right
does.
now.
Oh, only 2 tiers right now.
Yeah, the Xbox S, Series S and Series X. Series S is completely digital, no like disc drive or anything. It's 100%
Okay.
digital games only. And the Series X has the disc drive and has 2 or 3 has like 2 or 3 more percentage, or however you say, I'm not technical terms, but has a bit more processing power and
Yeah.
overall, like, I guess the RAM, I guess, is maybe, it's not the right word, but it has more
Do they use the word
oomph
teraflops?
to it. It might be that, yeah, that.
Because I
That
hate
sounds
when
familiar.
companies do that. Because teraflops doesn't really mean anything, and for some reason, these console companies like to run the term teraflops when it actually doesn't hold as much meaning as people think it does.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I've only ever seen one console for PlayStation or Xbox for the new generation in stores, and it was a Xbox Series S, and I saw it at Walmart like a week ago. And then I
Huh.
went up the next day, and it was gone.
Yeah. I think that, in my opinion, I think Microsoft has had the superior console since the Xbox 360. I think the Xbox 360 was better than the PlayStation 3. I believe the Xbox One was better than the PS4.
I disagree with you
And
on that.
I believe that the new Xbox is also better than the PlayStation 5. But
I
I
agree
play
with you
PlayStation
fully.
more because of the exclusives. I'm a huge Souls fan, and unfortunately, they have to put a few exclusives on the PlayStation because From Software has a deal with Sony. So that's the only reason why I play PlayStation.
And your wife's a PlayStation fan, so she said we're buying a PlayStation.
But not only has the hardware always been better than PlayStation, but the software is also better, and they have better customer service, and they have better prices, they have better programs. It's just all around a better company to put your money into, in my opinion.
You can fight me.
It's all around. It's Xbox. I mean, I am a PlayStation guy. I play PlayStation more than any other console, but Xbox is the superior console.
Damn, that's like a big statement.
I don't even play Xbox anymore. I haven't played Xbox in years. I only play PlayStation and PC, but I recognize just because I play something more than another doesn't mean I'm not willing to recognize that one is better than the other. The one I play is not better.
And I'm a normie, and
I
I'm like,
can
I know
feel her blood pressure rising
rising.
right now.
Like, Drew, if you need the number to a men's shelter, let me know.
I try to only talk in truth. And I'm not a fanboy. I mean, I used to be an Xbox fanboy.
This is a debate that we've had since we were dating. Okay, like this is something that pops up every so many months or so many years.
I mean, I'll give you one example why Xbox is a better company to put your money into than Microsoft. Xbox regularly.
Sony.
Hey, Drew.
Sorry.
Drew. Got a little confused there.
Yeah. But Xbox has a program, the Game Pass. They actually started this, and other companies started to follow suit. And I know it regularly goes on sale. I think like you can pay like $5 a month, and you get a couple hundred games to go through. Like not even just Microsoft exclusives. It's a
Now-
whole bunch of games to go through, and they're constantly adding more. And even some games get released on there for free.
I should tell you this. That's the wrong number. Not a couple hundred. There are almost 500 games you can get through the Game Pass.
And
Because when
For
you get the
that's
Game
great.
Pass,
And
when you get the
they
Game
regularly
Pass,
hold deals to where it's like, you know, $1 this month to get
it's
started.
not even that. It's also when you get the Game Pass for like another $1, you can get gold, and you get all those free games for gold. There's always at least 100+ games on the Game Pass, and
crazy
now
value.
as of over the pandemic, you now get all the EA Pass games for free through the Xbox Game Pass.
That's even more crazy value than I thought. And then you go over to PlayStation, and it's like, if you want our version, that's going to be $5. No, we're not including PlayStation. If you want to play the PlayStation Now games, that's a separate subscription, by the way. And
Oh.
also, if you're playing the PlayStation 4, not crossplay, you have to pay another subscription to play that as well. So have fun with that.
Where Xbox allows you to do cross-play for free.
Yep.
With PlayStation, mainly computers, but because a lot of their games, like for example, all Halo games are released for free if you have the Game Pass on Xbox.
It's crazy.
I'm going to be able to play Halo Infinite for free when it comes out. Or I think that's the next one, right?
Yeah.
I'll be able to play that for free on my computer and my Xbox because I have the Game Pass.
Yeah, they're making the multiplayer free to everybody, and then the campaign will be included with Game Pass. Which is like, how much more consumer friendly can you get?
And they wanted to release it before the multiplayer is ready, and everyone's like, you do that, we're going to fucking kill you. Like, we're not buying this game if you release Halo before it's ready to put out, because they were going to release it without multiplayer and without the Forge functionality.
Yeah, I heard about that. And I'm a huge Halo fan myself.
And that's just not a possibility, because the fact that they're bringing back Forge, I am
stoked.
I gotta say, this is what's gonna get me back into Halo, is because I loved Reach for their Forge, in that it was the one game that you could transition from Forge to gameplay without having to do a buffer. It just automatically switched you.
The amount of game modes that fans have created that have not only become regular game modes in the Halo series, but have transcended out into other multiplayer games is insane.
Yeah.
Like Flood. That Flood game mode, one. Or like I think it's called the Flood game mode. Infected.
I know which one you're talking about.
The Infected game mode. That made it to Call of Duty. And that started out as a Forge fan-made game from Halo, and that made it all the way out to Call of Duty.
And a lot of the fan-made games, as you said, keep showing up as featured game modes.
Yeah, Griffball and all those other game modes too. When you put that kind of power into the players' hands for them to create their own stuff, and then you hype it up and put it as a regular game mode, it incentivizes people to play in Forge more.
And that's what I think is one of the biggest selling points for this new Halo game, is going to be Forge and
PC Forge with mods. I don't.
If the Xbox allowed mods on their games, they would Sony might go out of sale for go out of no one would buy, I think, PlayStations if people found out that you could mod on Xbox.
Infinite would become like CS:GO. It would become timeless.
Exactly.
It would be played forever if they never made another Halo.
Exactly, and I fully wish that they would allow for all their games to allow you to mod the hell out of them.
For
be able to download mods offline and do exactly what you can do on a computer, because when you buy the Xbox Series X, you're pretty much buying
a mini computer.
What's the equivalent of a a mid-scale gaming computer for $600, not even $600.
And Microsoft is becoming more and more open with what you can and cannot do on console. To my knowledge, I believe Microsoft allows a lot more third-party applications than Sony does.
Oh, 100%. There's a lot more third-party games going on, and a lot more variety of games, in my opinion. Like, for example,
the only thing Sony has is exclusives.
Yeah, I understand. 1 second, Steve. This is more important.
I have an idea, Steve, and I'm about to run by him. Hold on.
The game that just came out recently called Dead Cells.
You don't call out the production notes in the episode, you dick.
No, I don't care. This is more important than cutting to
Okay,
the next topic.
listen,
Alright,
Lizette's married to him. He's not going to marry you.
I can try.
I could go on forever on these topics.
Keep an eye on the Discord, Steven. I'm going to answer you in a second because I just got his approval for something.
But for example, while they do their adulting, trying to keep us under control
No,
stuff.
this is 100% Drew's podcast now, and Lizette and I are just the producers, and you're the fanboy. This is what it is now.
It's Dead Cells is. I don't know if you've played it or heard of it.
I know
but
of the game.
It is, in my opinion, one of the. It's a really good 2D game.
So I've heard.
I was expecting to play this game, and I was expecting to play the game and be kind of like 2D Mario kind of deal, but it was a lot more in depth and fun to play than I was expecting it to be. But I don't think we have time for that in this episode.
This is getting into a
Sadly,
good segue for my next topic because we were talking about Halo and stuff like that, and I know they're trying to bring back the Halo Pro scene, and that's going to be a really good, because I'm going to bring that back up in my next topic.
But we're getting yelled at by our co-hosts to wrap it up. Sorry to spoil the production notes, as I was just told. But
You know, Gordon, you can do the outro then.
you do the outro, Steve.
That's because you don't know how to do it.
Exactly, I don't know how to do it. I'm playing Minecraft while talking about video games.
Oh, I'm gonna save my jokes, and don't get me wrong. Yes, there was some production notes going on behind the scenes, but we were running close to our time. So you just made me and Lizette the villains in this story, and I don't like
Yes,
that.
I did.
You are the bad guy in the story, Gordon. Don't forget.
No, I am not.
These are important topics.
No, they are, and I definitely think that I was following along, and I was actually learning a lot, and I realized that this is probably Drew's podcast now. It's great. I would like to thank Anchor for sponsoring us. We couldn't do this without you, and I appreciate you letting us do this every week, and we're loving it, and I hope those of you that are listening are enjoying it with us. Please join our Discord server. The on-air conversations are probably similar on Discord, so I would love for you to be a part of it. If you're looking to start a new podcast, look up Anchor, check them out, because if they give us a platform, they'll give you a platform, and they'll make it very easy. With that being said, thank you to all my wonderful, wonderful co-hosts and the new host of this show, Drew. And we will see you in the next one. Let's Be Nerds is hosted and executive produced by Gordon Bryant and me, Stephen J. McLean. Today's co-host was Lizett Ayala. You can find her on Instagram at xshadowsongx. Let's Be Nerds is a production of Speak Easily Productions. Our social media manager is Kylie Gregg. Our theme song was composed by Robert Van Jacobs. You can follow him on Instagram at Bobby_Spector. To keep up with the latest about the show, follow us on Twitter at Let's the Letter B Nerds, or join our Discord server, which will be linked in the description box below. Thank you to Anchor for sponsoring our show, and thank you for listening.